People faint at your readings. Most of your books, including Damned and Invisible Monsters, have sections that make the reader wince, either out of embarrassment or physical discomfort. Now, do you set out to intentionally include these sections, or do they manifest on their own as a natural part of your plot development?
First, they do manifest on their own. That if you write a story in which the plot has to escalate from one scene to the next, the plot escalates very quickly to a very large crisis. So just the fact that just keeping the plot moving forces the plot to get to these places you would never willingly go. And on another level, this is a conversation about what is humor, what do we laugh at? And the thing that I always laugh at is Tosh.o on television, where you find yourself simultaneously shocked by that bone that's sticking out of the skateboarder's leg. At the same time you're laughing. That what we perceive of as humor is this buildup of fantastic tension that has to be released through a laugh. In Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino's movie, where Uma Thurman gets the needle in her chest and then she sits up and speaks dialogue with a needle sticking out of her sternum. People laugh not because that's really funny. They laugh because there's so much tension in that moment that you've got to release it in some way. And so, in a way, I think that the biggest laughs come from these biggest, most shocking moments of tension, where you're just appalled that they've done that they've depicted this thing, that this thing has been so baldly stated. In a way, comedians are this truth teller that is constantly saying the thing that everyone thinks, but no one has the nerve to say. And you're so shocked and so relieved that someone has acknowledged the thing, that we see the bone inside the leg, that you laugh, that there's something physical happening there. And so in a way, those shocking moments are the moments that get the biggest laughs because of just the purpose of laughter. And so to get those big laughs, you have to go to those over-the-top, completely shocking places.
The main characters in your books start fight clubs, scam people for cash, engage in anarchy, steal prescription medication, get sent to hell. And these are the protagonists. Why do you create characters with flaws so deep?
It's kind of a truism, I always say, that the way to succeed is to give people a noble reason for doing something despicable. And so I almost say my clients, my characters, are always doing kind of scamming, deceptive things, but they're doing them for noble reasons, typically to be accepted, to be loved, to trick someone into embracing them and to care for them. The character in Choke who pretends to choke so that people will embrace him and in a way physically adopt him, care for his well-being, at least for a moment in a very public setting. So that in a way he can be their child and he can be completely vulnerable as they nurture him on the floor in a restaurant. You know, it's despicable, but he's doing it for such a emotionally honest, vulnerable reason that people will accept the despicable behavior. It's not done out of meanness. It's done out of a need that they themselves, the consumer, the reader recognizes.
Your books usually employ several structural elements. For example, the use of flashback, surprise endings, the non-fictional true facts used to create cohesive links between sections. Now, when using non-fictional facts as a repetitive linking device, such as the cleaning tips in Survivor or Jack's body parts in Fight Club, what comes first?
The nonfiction, I tend to look for a nonfiction form in which to present a fictional story to create the context in which the story is being presented. My favorite example is always Citizen Kane, which starts as a newsreel, as seemingly as a piece of journalism that is objective, that is of the real world. And then it breaks down from there to people who are making the newsreel. And every time we need a transition between a different storyteller, we go back to those reporters who are trying to develop a newsreel. So the transitions are dictated by the initial nonfiction form, the newsreel. Blair Witch Project is recovered film from the Blair Witch Project. That's its nonfiction context. This is not just a fictive dream that we've stepped into like most stories. This is a story that's set in the context of the real world. Paranormal activity, security footage. You know, it develops its authority from the kind of grainy, miserable quality of the security cameras that it's shot through. And that's what dictates the transitions within it. The time code, all those different aspects of this grainy security video that we recognize as real world. So first, I try to come up with a non-fiction form. In Choke, it was the fourth step that you have to write as part of your 12-step program. In Invisible Monsters, it included the postcards. In Damned, it kind of veered away from nonfiction, but it still resonated with a nonfiction form of travel writing. That Darwin's, we think of travel writing, we think of these kind of travel guides like Zagat's. But travel writing for me includes Dante's Inferno. We're going to go to hell. This is what hell is like. It includes Gulliver's Travels. I went to Lilliputian. Everybody's this big. It includes Darwin's Voyage of the Beagle. I went to the Galapagos Islands. I saw some finches. So there's all these different classic books that are really just travel writing. And one thing that those books do is use that kind of prelude summary before each chapter, which I used in Damned. And Judy Blume used in Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret. But that's an ancient form. Charles Darwin used that form. In this chapter, we're going to go to the Galapagos Islands. I'm going to talk about some finches. We're going to drink the urine of a tortoise. Boom. We know what to expect from that chapter. And so in a way, I'm still using nonfiction forms, but they're borrowed from Darwin, from Jonathan Swift, from Dante.
Are there any up-and-coming authors that excite you? What are you reading these days?
There's a Portland author, Lydia Yuknovich, and she has a couple books out. Yeah. Her book last year was The Chronology of Water, and I love that book. Yes. It was a memoir. Yeah. This year she has a book out called Dora, which is a kind of modern retelling of Freud's biography of Dora. His patient case history about this teenage girl. So Lydia Yuknovich. There's I believe she's Korean American writer named Namie Moon, who had a book of short stories out called Miles from Nowhere a few years ago. And Namie Moon's stories are fantastic. Donald Ray Pollock, he's an author I've done events with. And he's got a book called, his first book was called Knock 'em Stiff. And then last year he had a novel out called The Devil All the Time. So Donald Ray Pollock. And their writing, I think, is fantastic.
Thank you, Chuck, for joining us this afternoon in the studio. I am Tai Sammons. Thank you.